instantly. That's when I realized the cooling fan was completely dead, so the GPU basically had no active cooling at all. At that point, replacing the cooler was the only option. I noticed that the GT710 I just tested could almost fit the cooler from the GT630, so I decided to swap them. But, of course, it wasn't that simple. The contact surfaces on the two coolers weren't the same, so they didn't sit flush. To fix that, I added a thin aluminum shim in between to improve contact with the GT710's die. Unfortunately, the temperatures still weren't great. After just 2 minutes of gameplay, the GPU was already back up to around 90 degrees. So I went one step further. I grabbed a CPU cooler fan and mounted it directly onto the GPU heatsink. And this time, it actually worked. Temperatures dropped significantly, settling at around 50 degrees, which is a huge improvement. At the lowest resolution, 800 by 600, with all settings turned down to the absolute minimum, FPS sits around 50 frames per second. Even when driving at high speeds, the performance stays surprisingly stable. Honestly, this resolution takes me right back to gaming 15 years ago. When I bump the resolution up to 720p, the GPU still holds up pretty well. There is some input latency, but it doesn't impact the experience too much. FPS lands at around 40, which is totally playable, as long as you're willing to sacrifice visual quality. However, once I try pushing it to 1080p, the game simply refuses to start due to RAM limitations. And even when I force it, the game kicks me back to the settings menu. It's pretty clear that 720p is the hard limit for this GPU. And finally, the oldest one in the lineup, the GT210, released all the way back in 2009. Let's be honest, this is a terrible choice for gaming by today's standards. Its performance is so weak that it actually loses to many modern integrated GPUs. It comes with just 512 megabytes of DDR3 RAM. But hey, this is GTA 5 we're talking about, a game that's already been proven to run on GPUs with as little as 256 megabytes of RAM. So yeah, it's going to run. The real question is how painful that experience is going to be. Let's find out. I tried loading into the game, and right away it was clear something wasn't right. The boot time was extremely long, and just as the game was about to load, it kept crashing back to desktop over and over again. So I went all out and turned everything down, both inside the game and outside of it. I even edited the settings.xml file manually, dropping the resolution all the way down to 640 by 480 and disabling every shadow effect. And somehow, it worked. The game actually loaded. But here's the weird part. Every time I pressed S to open the settings menu, the game would instantly crash again for no clear reason.